Knowing how to ask for a budget is probably one of the most important aspects when it comes to sales, right? If you're confident in yourself and you can ask for high prices and people believe it, you're going to be able to make way more money just because your ability to speak and be confident in yourself. But if you're not confident in yourself, you're not confident in your product, you're just going to keep going low, and then you're going to feel like you're not making as much money as you should. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you should be talking about budget with your potential clients, how you can charge extremely high prices, like prices so high that you yourself feel like, whoa, what the heck, how is this even possible? And I'm going to use my personal experience of how I've done it in the past and how I'm currently doing it in my businesses now. If you are starting your sales career and if you want to take your sales game to the next level, you want to make sure to check out my Sales Master course where you're going to learn everything about that. So check it out at saleslickies.com. So how are we going to do this about budgeting, right? The first thing when it comes to budgeting is that it's all about confidence. Confidence is the name of the game when you're trying to charge as high as possible. So let me give you a real example, right? So I remember when I was creating a new offer for some marketing services and I wasn't really sure what to charge. I look at the competition. I don't know what anyone is charging. I don't know anyone doing the same thing as me, right? So let's say I'm charging $25K a month for marketing services. I'm just going to give an arbitrary number. It's not really the real number, but let's just say it is, right? So $25K a month sounds like a lot of money. How much is someone willing to pay for it? I have no idea. Are they willing to accept 10K, 15K, 20K? Are they willing to pay more? It's unclear. And so if I'm willing to accept 25K, what I essentially do is first ask them their budget. And this is like you're deeper into the meeting, you already understand their problems, you're going to show them how you are going to fix their problems. And then from there it's like, hey, for something like this, do you have a ballpark budget of what you guys are looking to spend? And they will say like, we actually don't have a budget, but we would love you to give us a proposal. So that's one way they dodge the question. And you could say like, yeah, it would be great. I can definitely send that proposal, but I want to make sure that, if I give pricing, it's something that's in the range for you guys, because I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. I just want to make sure that we have some kind of range, right? And then if they might give you a range of, let's say they say 15 to 25K or whatever the case is, or maybe they will be like, maybe 5 to 10K. And that's like way lower than you thought. No matter what it is, your goal is to get that information to see how much someone is willing to pay for your products and services, right? Because it gives you a gauge of it's a fit or not, first of all, right? Because if you're charging way too high, they're not going to buy anyway, so don't waste your time. But also it gives you a range of like, if you're charging too low and you're willing to accept something lower than they're willing to pay, then you're charging too low, so you can actually charge higher. So that's why the first step is to be confident enough to ask them for the budget. On the other end of the spectrum, let's say some people who are really good at negotiating, or maybe they just don't want to give you a budget, or maybe their managers told them that no matter what, don't give Patrick the budget. And this happens quite a lot. So here's how I would play that, assuming you cannot get them to give you any information. What I would do is I would think about how much I am willing to accept. So if I am willing to accept, let's say the lowest $15,000 for my services per month, I want to charge higher than $15,000 because most likely they're going to try to negotiate and reduce my price. Usually people will charge like 30 or 40% higher, but if you kind of like feel that you can maybe charge more, you can even go higher than that, right? Because in B2B, it's really hard to price services, right? So if you help someone with marketing and you increase their revenue, as long as you're increasing their revenue, you're kind of free anyways, right? And so how much margin should you be taking on top of the extra profit they make? It's really in the air if there's no other examples of other people doing something similar to you. But if there is examples, you're going to be directly compared to others, right? And that's when it comes to differentiation. But let's say you are differentiated and they don't know how to price you. I would charge higher if you feel the confidence, right? It's kind of like a feeling. You talk to somebody, you kind of get the gist that you feel like 20K might be the right fit, but I'm pretty sure that if I said 23, they would kind of be okay with it and they might negotiate down, right? You don't want to go so high that you disrespect the other person, but you want to go high enough where they feel like it's kind of expensive. And what's going to happen is that when you do a higher price, let's say you say 23K per month, they're going to be like, dude, Patrick, that's a lot higher than I thought. But I really like you and I really want to work with you. So how about we reduce that 23K to 19K? What ends up happening is that they always try to push down to feel like they got a good deal. In order for you to make them feel like they got a good deal, you have to charge higher than you're willing to accept because they're going to reduce it anyways. And then they're happy because they feel like they got a deal when they reduce your price. You're happy because they're already paying more than the lowest you're willing to accept. And so everybody wins. But in reality, because you played that game, it's really you that won, but you never really say it, right? You never tell someone what's the lowest you're willing to accept. Otherwise, they would go straight for that price. You always want to go higher, have that confidence in your pricing, especially when it comes to a new offer, right? Let's say you're offering new marketing services that has never been tested before. You don't even know what people are willing to pay. You want to say it with such confidence that it almost almost sounds like you've charged this price for other people before and that's the price that they paid. Whether or not that's true or not, you could tell them the truth or whatever, or you can say it's new pricing for a new service that you're offering. But the way in which you say it has to be just so confident that they believe in you. I actually learned this one from Alex Hormozy, right? He says something like, sales is really just the transfer of belief. You have to believe in yourself and your products and services so much that when you share it with another person, they just happen to also believe in it because of how confident you are in yourself and everything that you're doing, right? And so if you're charging $25K and you believe that it's worth it and the client is getting incredible value, say it like you mean it, right? And because that confident is going to translate over into the way they think. And if you're so confident in yourself and you can actually get results, and if you also offer like a money back guarantee as well, right, then they are going to accept. Now, if you don't do a good job, obviously that's a whole separate problem, but we're assuming that whatever you're offering is something of substance. Some of you guys watching this, you might be in a situation where there are already market rates, right? So the market rate for video editing, the market rate for marketing, and the market for running social ads or whatever, right? There might be a standard rate that's templated and everybody already knows what the price is, right? So you might feel like, hey, because I am also that kind of person who does that kind of work, this is the price that I will charge because everybody else charges the same thing. Now, here's the problem with that. If everyone's charging the same thing, what's going to happen is that everyone's going to keep lowering their prices. This is what in economics is what we call equilibrium, right? Like somebody's going to try to steal your customer. They're going to say, I can do the same thing. I'll do it for cheaper. The next guy comes in, hey, he's doing it cheaper, I'll do it cheaper too. And so it's just like eventually it's this race to the bottom and it doesn't feel good because you're getting paid something well, probably, but then you're not able to charge the premium maybe you can get. So how is it that you're able to charge a premium? And so you can look at luxury products, right? Like Louis Vuitton or whatever, right? The cost of goods to make it, probably is like $10 to $20 for a wallet, but they sell it for $400. Is the wallet quality like significantly better than others? I have a wallet, something like this, and I'll tell you this, it's not necessarily better than what you can get from like a $40 high quality leather wallet. It's like basically the same thing. And sometimes the luxury product is even worse quality, but you pay for the brand, right? In luxury, they're paying for intangibles, but when it comes to services, you can pay for other things that are not as tangible as people may think, right? So for example, when it comes to smart contract development, right? This is like crypto stuff, but if you want someone to do code for your project, because so much money is involved in crypto, a lot of projects are willing to pay more money for someone who's much more expensive for being able to trust that person and have peace of mind. You might get the same service from this developer versus another developer, but because you can trust this guy, you know who he is and you know where he lives, and if he scams you, you're gonna call the police on him. You trust that guy a lot more and you're willing to pay this guy more money, right? This is an example of like an intangible. Also, if you're significantly better than your competition in terms of the product or the service you're providing, that actually equates to a higher margin, right? So like an iPhone, for example, in my opinion, is significantly better than using other Android phones. And I've used both. And so no matter how much the iPhone costs, I'm actually not going to switch to Android because the cost of me switching is too high. And I like the iPhone and I think is actually better. So I'm willing to pay for something that is better. So you're going to find in the market, there are many people who have budgets that are willing to pay for the best, assuming they're going to get significantly better value than the second or third or fourth option. So when I sell my services as a marketer, especially in the whole crypto and Web3 space, which I do, when people look at me and they wonder like, is Patrick's services worth it or not? Typically what happens is there's really no competition because there's very few people that have the same skill set I do when it comes to narrative and sales and creative direction and experience as well, and also a track record. There's just not many people like that. And so they cannot even go to like 10 other options to be like, hey, can you do what Patrick does but cheaper? Because there's very few people that have done what I've done. So the key here, if you want to charge higher prices, is you want to offer something other people cannot offer. You want to have experiences that are unique, that are very difficult to copy, and that someone would have to spend years of their life or be connected with the right people in order to be competitive with your services, right? Now, if you're going to be lazy and you just want to offer the same thing everyone else is offering and you just learned a new skill on YouTube, like Photoshop, for example, but you only know the basics, yeah, of course, no one will give you more money than the next guy. But if you really put time into your craft and you know that your stuff is good and you know it's different, and you know that other people cannot copy it or if they tried to copy it, they would have to put in so much blood, sweat, and tears in order to get that skill set that you have. Then you're going to be able to charge these big margins because they'll be like, oh yeah, I'd rather work with Patrick than anybody else because he knows what he's doing and I don't see anyone like him. Having the best product leads to having the best prices. Having the best prices means you're making the most money and you have more time and freedom to work on your skill set, to have the best product and services and things like that, right? And so you want to also reinvest your profits and things like that, or your energy into developing these skill sets in order to charge higher prices. And it's kind of like this unfair equilibrium where it's like the people that make the most money have the most money, they have the most time, they can hire the best people, and so they end up making the best product. And because they have the best product, they're able to sell at the highest prices and make the most money. That's why the rich get richer, because they have more money to spend on the best resources to make the best product and to beat everybody else. And so you want to apply that mindset into whatever it is you're doing. And even if you're not the best of the best of the best in your industry, that's okay. You just need to be relatively better than your competition in your small circle, right? So like, am I particularly the best marketer worldwide? No. But may I be one of the best marketers in crypto and NFTs? Possible. And so you want to just redefine who you are and what you offer until you become number one in your specific category. And your specific category can be made up. You can make it up. Really perfect example is, let's say, Logan Paul, right? He has this podcast called Impulsive. He starts off the podcast saying, welcome to Impulsive, the number one podcast in the world. Number one to who, right? Is it number one on the charts? No. So who says it's number one? Well, number one to him. So he just created his own category by just calling himself number one, and now he is number one to him. So you can be number one too. Just redefine who you are and what you do until you are the best at what you do, and you're going to be able to charge ridiculous prices. So that's it. That's everything we got to cover for this video. If you want to learn more about these special strategies when it comes to sales, differentiating yourself and making more money, make sure to check out my masterclass, saleslegacies.com, and I'm going to see you in the next one.